Welcome everyone. Let's begin our lesson for today by going over the learning goals and success criteria. First, what are we learning? We're learning how to recognize practical applications of mathematics within your areas of interest, such as the Olympics. How are we learning it? Through the Olympics virtual field trip assignment. When can we use this information? To become more aware of mathematics that are all around us, even when we don't assume that they are mathematical. How do we know we learned it? By getting a score of 4 on the Olympics virtual field trip assignment. Now let's take a look at our agenda for today. We will begin by going over the learning goals and success criteria. While we do that, you'll fill out your Get It Started. After that, we'll watch the Olympics virtual field trip video while you complete the Olympics virtual field trip assignment. At the end of class, we'll go back over our learning goals and success criteria while you fill out your Before You Go. Your only homework for tonight is to continue working on the quadratic study guide and any incomplete assignments that you may have.
Hi, I'm Dee Dee Trotter, 3-time Olympian and host of Math at Work Olympic Edition. Before anyone had ever heard of COVID-19, we completed this episode, which highlights the role that math plays in the Olympic and Paralympic Games. The pandemic has put things in perspective, and we now see that the Olympic Game postponement is necessary to save lives. The heroic work of healthcare providers, essential workers, neighbors, and friends has truly been inspiring. It's a central message of our program, which is we all have what it takes to be champions. No matter when the Olympic Games are held, the Olympic flame of peace, hope, and greatness can never burn out. So here it is, Math at Work, Olympic Edition.
Learning math is important to a young student athlete because it's everywhere. It's hidden in all the cracks of how you live every single day.
We use math to make sure that when we're recommending foods that athletes eat, that it is sufficient for them to perform at a very high level.
I use math in so many different ways. We need to know how quickly we're accelerating, how much speed we're generating. It's just everywhere.
Being able to understand what you need to be able to do to achieve a goal or a dream is all written in math.
Every 4 years, the world comes together to watch athletes perform superhuman feats at the Olympic and Paralympic Games. I'm Dee Dee Trotter, and I had the honor of representing the United States in track and field at 3 Olympic Games. Now, I might be the one wearing the medals, but becoming an Olympic champion is a team effort. All of the athletes competing and the experts who support them must learn skills like tracking time and counting calories. Today, 3 students are going to learn the math behind becoming an Olympic champion.
We are in Colorado Springs, known as Olympic City, USA.
My brother started playing baseball, and he was a pitcher, so I moved into baseball because I wanted to catch for him.
Basketball is my favorite sport. I love the energy. I love being able to attack the basket and get rebounds over everybody.
The student in the classroom parallels the athlete on the field or on the court when it comes to discipline, work ethic, setting goals, and then understanding the action plan necessary to achieve those goals.
I apply math to myself as an athlete by looking at percentages for stats and seeing how I can improve on certain things and certain skills.
The class I'm in is a really fast-moving class. Right now, we're learning about relations and functions and inputs and outputs.
I see math everywhere out in the real world. I have a calendar on my phone and it alerts me that I need to go outside and get at least 300 shots up to help my form.
The opportunity that our kids are going to have at the Olympic Training Center is really life-changing, and what a great chance for them to meet athletes that they're hoping to become down the road.
Up first for our student athletes is an old teammate of mine whose sport, the javelin throw, dates back to the very first Olympic Games in 700 BC. Kara Winger has thrown the javelin since her freshman year of high school. She's competed in 3 different Olympic Games, and from the angle she throws the javelin to the weights she uses to train, we're going to see how math is everywhere in her sport.
Hey, I'm Kara. Has anyone thrown a javelin before?
No. I haven't, but I'd play baseball a lot.
Nice. There are similar concepts. Math is important in the javelin for angles, the speed of the implement at release, that translates to distance, for the length that you want to put into your arm so that you can leave it back longer and then therefore accelerate it into the sky because it's going to go faster.
And just lean forward.
And I want you to try this, Evan. When you sequence all of your body parts correctly, by having the correct angles, your arm is zipping through this space at the same angle as the javelin, which I know is important in baseball too, to have those cumulative forces, not split your vectors, and make it the fastest pitch possible and the furthest javelin throw possible. So come here. An optimal angle for the javelin throw is like 30 degrees, people say. And when everyone picks up a javelin and they want to throw it as far as they can, they go like this. But that's not right. When you are moving, and in practice, your shin angle matches the javelin angle. I've been to 3 Olympics so far, and I hold the American record at 66.67 meters, and I'll let you math people figure out what that is in feet and inches. So I'm going to show you the position I would be in to throw the javelin, this position.
How does Kara get a javelin to go as far as she possibly can? The most important factor by far is how fast the javelin is going as soon as it leaves Kara's hand. To be specific, the distance the javelin travels is proportional to the square of the release speed. Let's take a step back to see what it means to be proportional. If the distance the javelin traveled were directly proportional to the release speed, then throwing the javelin 1% faster would send it 1% farther. But the distance is proportional to the square of the release speed. So let's say the speed is 1% faster. You would multiply the speed by 1.01, but you would multiply the distance by 1.01 squared, which is over 2% farther. 2% might not seem like much, but let's look at some actual distances. Kara is currently the American record holder for the women's javelin throw at 66.67 meters. If she can train herself to throw the javelin just 1% faster, then the distance will be multiplied by 1.01 squared, which comes in at just over 68 meters. That difference of around 1.3 meters is what makes or breaks world records. As of this filming, Kara is ranked 6th in the world in the women's javelin, and her American record throw of 66.67 meters is the 143rd longest in history. However, a distance of 68.01 meters would catapult her to 10th place on that list, for just a 1% speed increase. By focusing on ways to increase her release speed, Kara hopes to throw a personal best in Tokyo and spear a medal for the U.S.
I want to go to a 4th Olympic Games, and there's a lot of work to do between now and then, but I know how to make it happen. I actually tore my ACL in my knee, and after that surgery, I had a lot of work to do to get back to being a javelin thrower from ground zero. I started at like 10 sets of 5 med ball throws, and I worked up to 300 throws per day. The javelin only weighs 600 grams. But the way you are moving your body around the implement and the way you need to keep it at the optimum angles makes it seem heavier. So working up to heavier weights and keeping the technique in mind is the best way to do that. You're just trying to reach back behind you as far as possible. Good. And then chest forward first and throw the ball. Good. Thank you guys for coming and learning about javelin. I hope that you learned something about the math that goes into my event.
Since 1960, the Paralympic Games, which feature elite athletes with a range of disabilities, have been held in parallel to the Olympics. Jason Makem was a world-class BMX bike racer when an accident in 2015 led him to losing part of his right leg. But that didn't stop his goal of competing in the Games. Jason is a top-ranked adaptive athlete, and his passion for math is off the charts. Let's go meet him.
Hi guys, welcome to the velodrome.
I'm a paracyclist, and I race for Team USA on the velodrome. I am an Omnium racer, which means that I do all 4 events. This place is a really cool giant dome over the top of a 333-meter track, and it was built in 1983 for the '84 Olympics.
Does math play a big role in your training?
A huge role. It's everything that guides us through the work that we're doing. After I got my first prosthetic, I decided that I was going to ride my bike again. and I was going to race and to figure out how I could be the best version of myself that I could possibly be. We come over to the whiteboard and we can work out some of the math, and I'll show you how it's done. We have a goal time of 4 minutes and 48 seconds for the national team. My start lap is around 28 seconds. Then we have 11 more laps to go. Put 448 into seconds, which is 288. Subtract the 28-second start lap, 260. We have 11 laps to go. Divide it by 11. That equals 23.6.
If you've ever ridden a bicycle, you probably noticed two metal rings connected to the tires. The larger chainring in the front and the smaller cog in the back. For a competitive cyclist, these rings are critical. Jason pays particular attention to the gear ratio, or the ratio of chainring teeth to cog teeth. This describes how many times the wheels spin after the pedals make one full rotation. For example, with a chainring of 44 teeth and a cog of 11 teeth, pedaling one rotation will move the bicycle the length of 4 tires. Jason can find how far he needs to cover with each pedal rotation by dividing his speed around the track by his pedaling speed. For Jason to reach his goal time of a 23.6 second lap, his speed around the track needs to be about 14.1 meters per second, and he got his optimal pedaling speed tested in a lab at 1.83 rotations per second. This gives a quotient of about 7.7 meters per rotation. Because the circumference of Jason's tires are 2.2 meters, that corresponds to about 3.5 tire rotations for each pedal rotation. Jason has a collection of chain rings and cogs to pick from. In this case, he uses a chain ring with 57 teeth and a cog with 16 teeth, which gets him very close to the 3.5 ratio. Notice that the number of teeth on each ring doesn't matter. It's the ratio that counts. Whew, that's a lot to figure out before every practice. It's no wonder he created spreadsheets to help.
How fast we're going around one lap can be anywhere from 19 seconds to 35 seconds. So we need to figure out what the lap splits are.
2-1, 4-6, 3-6.
You got it!
The first lap I went too fast, and then I went a little too slow, and then the last one I got it just right on it, right at 23.6. Oh.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much again for coming out, and have a really fun day.
Yeah. Thank you for showing us.
Food is fuel for all of us, and it's especially important for athletes in training. Creating healthy diets and meal plans is a math exercise in itself. Let's meet Sally Bauman, a dietitian for the USOPC who makes those calculations.
Today what we're going to be doing is talking about how we create recommendations for athletes dependent on their training load. A lot of people know that athletes generally need to eat more. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. We start to look at how to build someone's plate relative to their training load. And one of the things that we really start to look at is carbohydrate, which is kind of like our fuel for our muscles. This would represent either a day where they're not training at all or someone's been injured. So the less activity you're doing, the less demand there will be for carbohydrate. So if you're having a regular training day, we go a third of your plate should be made up of like non-starchy vegetables, a third from carbohydrate, and then a third from protein-based sources. So we're making a little bit more balanced. Then when we start to look at this would represent what we would get an athlete to do if they're doing heavy training. So the more intense the workload, the greater the demand for carbohydrate usually is. So what do you notice from like a carbohydrate perspective on this plate?
There's more of it.
There's more of it, exactly. We talked about carbs being like your fuel for your muscles. This is your repair, right? So your muscles are made up of protein, and that's why athletes need protein in their diets. That's why humans need protein.
Does the sport matter when you are doing like portions?
When we're looking at an athlete and building them a nutrition plan or instructing them on what to do, it's always what's your training or what's the competition, how long are you training for, what's the intensity, when's the next time you actually have to go into another training or competition. All these sorts of things are things that we have to keep in mind when we're going, this is what you need to achieve success at the highest level. What we're going to do is have a look now at recovery. So from a fluid perspective, it's based on body weight loss. So if I jump on the scale and I go do a really heavy session for an hour and I come back and I'm, 2 pounds lighter, where do you think that's gone? Sweat, yeah. So the weight that you lose across the time frame of a session is generally fluid loss from sweat. So what we look to do is we replace that with 150% of what you've just lost. So that's where a recovery smoothie comes in really handy, because that can help to replenish or to rehydrate our athletes as well. Cheers. Hope you guys learnt a lot. Enjoy. It's our job as dietitians to blend that kind of math and science with human experience to get someone to the level where they can compete and win. Gold medals aren't won just in the Olympic or Paralympic Games. They're won from chasing greatness every single day. So we try to facilitate that. And so hopefully you now have a little bit more insight as to how food is fuel and not just delicious.
Math and sports have a lot in common. If you persevere, you can always get better. You can always become a champion. No matter what problems you face, math can help you find the solution.
Let's take a look now at the Olympics virtual field trip assignment. The assignment begins with the learning goals and success criteria. If we scroll down, there's a link here to watch the virtual field trip video. As you're watching the video, you're going to go ahead and fill out and add 5 facts that are math related that you learned from the video. Once you're done with that, you'll go ahead and click next. This will take you to your before you go. Go ahead and fill out your before you go and then submit your work on Google Classroom.